Hi and welcome to a new video. Sophia here from CoachSophiaFitness.com. Today I want to share with you part 1 of a 2-part video series where I'll be focusing on releasing the hip flexors and restoring proper hip alignment. This is extremely important if you're currently experiencing performance pain and hip tightness. Most people focus on stretching the glutes and performance muscle looking for that relief, but you probably noticed that while stretching feels good, relief is very short-lived. To properly fix hip imbalances and settle performance pain, you need to focus on restoring proper hip alignment, stability, and balance. The primary muscles we will focus on in this first video are the psoas and the rectus femoris. The psoas muscle is the biggest hip flexor in your body, and when it gets chronically tight, it drives your hips out of alignment, inhibits the glutes, and triggers performance pain. So we are going to start this first video by releasing the psoas, and on the next video, we'll work on other hip flexors, primarily the TFL muscle. Alright, so let's get started with this hip release routine. I'm going to start with a foam roller, and as you can see, I am also going to be using a massage ball. I like to start by just rolling my thighs lightly, and while I do that, I try to notice how my muscles feel. And if there are any tight areas I can focus on. So if I press on a trigger point or an area that just feels very tight, I will slow down the rolling and I will just breathe deeply to relax that area and release. And if it, as you're pressing on the muscle, you feel that it's a little painful, just breathe deeply, breathe into your belly and relax the muscle. And now we are gonna foam roll the other leg. And when you're done, then you can grab your massage ball, or you can use a tennis ball if you don't have a massage ball. And the next thing is we really want to target the deep hip flexors that the foam roller can't really get to. So I take the massage ball, I place it right on the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle is the biggest hip flexor muscle, and when it gets tight, it creates a lot of muscular imbalances that can affect pain and also exercise performance as well. I lie on the ball and I just breathe deeply and try to release those hip flexors. Sometimes one side will be tighter than the other, so you may not need to stay too long on one side if it doesn't feel tight. Remember, you don't need to stretch or roll a muscle if it doesn't feel tight. And you can also place the ball a little lower to get to those deep hip flexor muscles as well. And as I do this, I try to extend my leg. So just lift your leg up, and that adds a little more pressure on the ball so that you can get really deep into those muscles and really release them. Honestly, guys, I have been doing this for years now. I haven't had a deep tissue massage in so long. This does it for me. And honestly, I am patient with this and I take my time. I had to film this video quickly, so usually it would take me longer than 5 minutes. So what I like to do is I like to listen to an audiobook or even watch a show, and I just roll at home and I take my time with it. And after that, I feel amazing, and it has the same effect as getting a deep tissue massage. So next, I'm going to roll my hamstrings and calves. Again, I'm just rolling lightly here and seeing if there are any trigger points I can target and release. I don't spend a lot of time here, as for me personally, I tend to have tighter hip flexors than hamstrings. But just to keep things balanced, I like to foam roll my hamstrings as well. And the last thing is a great hip flexor stretch. As I mentioned in many stretching videos I made before, the right way to stretch your hip flexors is to tilt your pelvis backward, so you're doing a posterior pelvic tilt. And only if you can, then you can lean forward a little bit. But just by tilting your pelvis, you'll get a deeper stretch. You don't need to be leaning forward too much to get to your hip flexors. In fact, when you're leaning forward too much, you're actually not changing the angle of your hips. So you're not really stretching your hip flexors, you're stretching your quads, which can be also beneficial, but you just need to be aware of which muscles you are targeting when you are stretching.